WWE Summerslam 2012 pay-per-view review. The pay-per-view off there a little while ago. As far as my thoughts on this pay-per-view from WWE, I thought this was a great show from them. You saw an awesome main event with Brock Lesnar versus Triple H. Definitely lived up to the hype. Really entertaining opener with Dolph Ziggler versus Chris Jericho. A great way to start the pay-per-view. And really, there was nothing bad on this pay-per-view. I mean, the only match on this whole pay-per-view that I would say you can kind of say was filler or I could have done without was probably the tag team title match, and that was at least even decent. So other than that, everything was really entertaining. You saw a lot of great matches on this pay-per-view. Really entertaining stuff from top to bottom. Definitely a show I would recommend people go out their way to see. Let me start with my review. The first matchup was the pre-show match on WWE.com, Facebook, and YouTube. The pre-show match was a U.S. title match. This was Antonio Cesaro versus Santino Marella. Really not too much of a match, but I'm glad what we got with the outcome with this match, with Antonio Cesaro winning the U.S. title, and Antonio Cesaro already teased that he's going to be making this U.S. title if he would have won it into a European title. So maybe a return, maybe with Antonio Cesaro as U.S. champion, they'll change the European title, and just hopefully they have Antonio Cesaro actually have some competition to take on. Hopefully, we're not just going to have to see him and Santino Marella in a long feud. Hopefully, they can find some good competition for him, which in WWE's mid-card, on SmackDown, they can find someone for him to take on. So the outcome I liked right there, 2 and 1, 4 stars. Decent for, a pre-show match they just gave away for free. Then the pay-per-view started. The first matchup, the opening match of the pay-per-view was Dolph Ziggler versus Chris Jericho. This was a great way to start the pay-per-view. I'm glad they chose this as the opener. Really good back-and-forth action. Really enjoyed it. Good counters, reversals. Just really entertaining. The crowd was into this. The outcome, I would say, I kind of have somewhat of a problem with. Chris Jericho picks up the victory. Not that I hate Chris Jericho. Obviously, with the whole storyline of this match with, Dolph Ziggler kept on saying to Chris Jericho in the lead up to SummerSlam that Chris Jericho, you haven't won the big one. So obviously with that, we knew that he would end up winning the match. I was kind of just hoping Dolph Ziggler would have maybe picked up the victory here because he needed it more than Chris Jericho, considering it's rumored that Chris Jericho is going to be taking some time off. So I think with that to be considered, Dolph Ziggler should have probably got the victory here, especially since he recently won the Money in the Bank. This would have been a big win for him. But even with that, great match, great way to start the pay-per-view, 3.5 stars. Then after this, next matchup was a whole lot better than I was expecting it to be. This was Daniel Bryan versus Kane. Really good stuff in here. Obviously, most of the match, Kane had the offense in this match, which is expected. Daniel Bryan got in, a number of kicks against Kane. Really awesome spot in here where basically towards the end of the match, the crowd was getting to Daniel Bryan. They kept on mocking him with the yes, yes, yes chants. He wanted them to say no. Kane was down on the mat. He went to the top, went for a flying headbutt, and then before he even hit Kane, Kane grabbed him by the neck, then got up, choke slammed him. Didn't go for the pinfall because earlier in the match, Kane got slapped in the face by Daniel Bryan. Kane was still pissed off about that, so then he signaled that the match was going to end. He went for a tombstone pile driver onto Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan reversed it into a small package, so Daniel Bryan picks up the win here. Really entertaining match, 3 stars. Whole lot better than I was expecting it to be. Even though they have took on each other so many times, you would expect them to have good matches. I wasn't expecting it to be as entertaining as it was. Then after this, they cut to backstage. Kane, after his loss to Daniel Bryan here, is just flipping out, going nuts backstage, tearing stuff up, through an announcer. So obviously, maybe they'll continue something with Daniel Bryan and Kane, or Kane's going to even become more demonic. We'll just have to wait and see where they go with that. Next matchup was Rey Mysterio versus The Miz for the IC title. And just like the Daniel Bryan Kane match, this match was a whole lot better than I was expecting. Now, I'm a fan of The Miz, and I like The Miz a lot. But The Miz, as far as an in-ring performer, sometimes he can be great. Other times he can be piss poor. This was one of those times that, he showed up, had a great match. And then obviously in there with Rey Mysterio, you should have something good. But this was an incredible match. A lot of good counters, reversals, just an awesome match for the IC title. And The Miz picks up the victory in this match after hitting the skull-crushing finale to Rey Mysterio to retain the IC title. About 3 and 1/4 stars, maybe even 3.5 stars. Really entertaining match with them two. Then the next matchup was Alberto Del Rio versus Sheamus for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, this was a fairly good match. Now, this is a match that I would say might not have been felt like a pay-per-view quality match, because this is a match I would expect to see them against each other anytime on SmackDown. So necessarily wasn't a pay-per-view quality match, but wasn't a bad match. It was still a good match. Some people might have a little problem with the ending, but I think the ending made sense. The way they ended the match was Alberto Del Rio was basically going to try to win the title in a very heelish fashion. You saw Ricardo Rodriguez distracting the ref, took off one of his shoes, tried to throw it to Alberto Del Rio. Then Sheamus, he didn't catch it. Sheamus caught it, hit Alberto Del Rio with it, then ends up picking the victory up to retain the title after hitting a backbreaker to Alberto Del Rio. So ending made perfect sense. You know, Sheamus, you know, babyface, you know, stop the heel from winning in, you know, the heelish fashion that Alberto Del Rio wanted to win in. So made perfect sense. I know some people might have a little problem with the ending because it felt more like a, you know, ending you would expect to see on, you know, a television instead of a pay-per-view, but still a good match nonetheless. 3 stars. Then the next matchup was probably the only match on this pay-per-view that I can say anything bad about, and I'm not even going to say it was a terrible match. I'm at least say it was a decent match. This was Primetime Players, Titus O'Neil and Darren Young versus R-Truth and Kofi Kingston for the WWE Tag Team titles. Started off with R-Truth and Darren Young in the ring. Started off really slow and boring. When Kofi Kingston got in this match, just like whenever Kofi Kingston gets involved in this match, tag team matches, he really improves the match a lot, does some entertaining stuff. The end of the match comes when you see Kofi Kingston, he dives to the floor onto Titus O'Neil. Darren Young's in the ring, looking like Darren Young was going to try to win via roll-up. Doesn't work. Then R-Truth picks the victory up with hitting a DDT to Darren Young. So R-Truth and Kofi Kingston retain the tag team titles. Not a bad match. Only match I could say that was just decent at best on the show. So considering this is the worst match on the show, it wasn't that bad of a match. You know, 2 stars, maybe 2.25 stars. Then the next matchup was the main event. Not the main event. The WWE title match. This was John Cena versus Big Show versus CM Punk for the WWE title. The way the match started off, Big Show dominated during the beginning of the match. He was destroying John Cena and CM Punk. And then when basically CM Punk was, but when John Cena was trying to, you know, hit the attitude adjustment to Big Show, Punk stopped him from doing that. Then when he tried to hit the 5-knuckle shuffle, Punk stopped John Cena from doing that. So obviously we know what we're going to get here. You know, next month we're going to get CM Punk versus John Cena, which is the match I wanted to see take place at SummerSlam. But it makes sense why they didn't do it on here, considering this whole entire summer, especially since I would say after Extreme Rules, even before the summer even really officially began, as far back as May, they've been doing stuff with John Cena and Big Show. So it made sense incorporating Big Show into this match. Basically, you know, has closure on that feud right there, so it made perfect sense right there to have him involved. And the ending made perfect sense as well, considering they are going to do John Cena versus Punk next month, most likely. At the end of the match, John Cena hits the attitude adjustment on Big Show, and then CM Punk comes out. Then CM Punk throws John Cena out of the ring, goes for the pinfall on Big Show, retains the title, wins in that fashion right there. Basically steals the win from John Cena to retain the title. You know, 3.25 stars. You know, wasn't a bad match, but wasn't a great match. But considering the way they booked this match, well, actually, I got to say one part I actually forgot about. Before actually the ending of the match, they did one false finish of the match where CM Punk had the Anaconda device locked on Big Show. Then John Cena locked in the STFU onto Big Show. Big Show tapped out, so both of their submission holds were on there. So that the referee didn't know who to declare the victor. Then AJ Lee, the Raw General Manager, came out there. Then she said the match was going to get restarted. Then when they got restarted, that's when they did the thing towards the end of it, where CM Punk stole the victory from John Cena after John Cena hit the attitude adjustment. Only part I forgot to mention with that match right there is that, you know, match-wise, like I said, I gave it 3 stars, maybe 3.25 stars. Then the main event, which was obviously the big money in the match for SummerSlam, the match that I think everyone probably went out their way to order SummerSlam 4 was the main event. Considering it's been a match 3.5 months in build. They did a hell of a job building up the match with Brock Lesnar versus Triple H. And it was just an awesome match. Great in-ring psychology in the match. Just a hell of a brawl. Just excellent stuff in there. The beginning of the match was Brock Lesnar working over Triple H's broken arm. He kept on locking in the Kimura, so working over Triple H's arm right there. And then basically Triple H got a little offense in there, but Triple H was still getting dominated by Brock Lesnar most of that. And then basically, halfway into the match, Triple H basically found out a weakness in Brock Lesnar when he slammed Brock Lesnar arm first or shoulder first into an announce table. And then this was the first time Brock Lesnar match was showing weakness. And then Triple H went after the midsection of Brock Lesnar. And then the announcers basically, saying, Triple H is going after this, found the Achilles heel in Brock Lesnar, the past stomach issues with Brock Lesnar, so he was working over that. So he started going after him. Triple H went for first pedigree. Brock Lesnar kicked out of that. Then Lesnar hit the F5 on Triple H. Triple H kicked out of that. So they both kicked out each other's finishers. Triple H goes for a second, tries to go for a second pedigree, does hit it. While he's trying to roll over Brock Lesnar for the pinfall, Lesnar locks in the Kimura. Triple H taps out. That's the end of the match. Brock Lesnar wins via submission. Just an awesome match. 4.25 stars, maybe even 4.5 stars. Great match right there. Great main event. So you saw a number of good things on this pay-per-view. The main event was great. The opener was good. You saw a good IC title match on here. And, even though it was a pre-show match, I at least enjoyed the outcome with Antonio Cesaro becoming the U.S. champion. And maybe they'll do something good with the U.S. title now. And just everything else on this pay-per-view was good. I mean, really the only weakness of this pay-per-view was probably the tag team match, which didn't get too much time. And the only other thing I can gripe about is the musical performance of Kevin Rudolph. That's the only thing I really can complain is those two little things, and that was not much. So definitely a good show, great show from WWE. Need to go out your way to check it out. I'll give it an 8.25 out of 10, maybe even an 8.5 out of 10. Definitely a great show from WWE, and that's it for my WWE SummerSlam 2012 pay-per-view review. All right, peace.